Welcome back to West Propshafts. Today we're looking at the Alfa Propshafts, the Alfa 3 Propshafts. So let's go and take a look. Off we go into the workshop to have a look at this Alfa laid out on the bench. So, another Saturday morning, 9:15. Good Saturday morning. So this is morning, Scott. Morning. So this is the Alfa in question that we've got coming to us. So this is coming to us in pieces. It's come from Sweden from a customer, and it's been sent over in pieces. So we're just going to have a quick look through it, check what's wrong with it, apart from the obvious that you can see, and we can see the components that are left, what needs replacing. So the first prop shaft going in is this one. Obviously, it's completely failed here. It's been taken apart, so we need to sort that. This CV joint is one of the two CV joints we mentioned. So this one has gone rock solid, I think, by the looks of it. Yep, it's not moving. That should move nice and freely. So that CV joint has failed. On the splines, there's no rotational movement in it. So underneath the splines looks like it's good. So we shouldn't have a problem with that. So that's that shaft. Is Jerry making lots of noise? This is the other section of shaft with a CV joint. So we'll just check the CV on this. I think if we're quiet enough, you'll be able to hear that clicking noise there. So that clicking noise means that that CV joint's failed. Now this is one of the problems. This CV joint is like nothing on any other vehicle whatsoever. They're not available anymore. We can't get them from the manufacturers. I'm sure soon somebody will bring something out, but for the moment, there's nothing we can do about that. So we can recondition this whole prop shaft. We can change everything on it, apart from this CV, and this is going to be our problem. Because we can't sort this CV out, we can't 100% sort any balance issues out with it. So we're going to have to check on what we can get. So we'll lay the parts out of what we're going to do to this shaft and show you what our reconditioning of this is like. So we've got all the parts out now. I've just laid them out on the bench, so I'll show you what parts are involved in changing this this prop shaft to reconversion, or what we're doing. So starting at this end, CV joint cap, CV boot to replace this. Then here we've got tube yoke, universal joint, mid yoke, centre bearing, mid stub to replace this whole section here. Obviously new piece of tube. And then the same again at this end. Mid stub, centre bearing, mid yoke, universal joint, tube yoke to change all of this section here. So the only bit that we actually keep out of this prop shaft is this section from there to there. So a piece of tube and that CV joint. As we mentioned, that CV joint isn't available, so there's nothing we can do with that at the moment. And on this side, we keep this little piece of tube with this stub on it, with the spline stub that goes under the CV joint. Once we strip that, if it needs replacing, we'll check this CV joint on that, then we will replace that. 9 times out of 10, it doesn't need replacing. So now we go to assembling these parts for the Alfa Brera. So the mid yokes are now into the piece of tube, all clocked up, ready to weld on here. We weld it on here just because it's a little bit easier than welding it on the balancer. So this will all be clocked up, welded and straightened on here now. Then over to the ends, which are built up. So this is the mid yoke section, all built up. This is going to be turned, this diameter turned to suit the tube that it's going in, which is this side of the tube. So it's slightly different diameters at the moment, so that's got to be machined up. And you can hear the welder crack up there, so we'll just leave him be for the time being. So this is the section with the CV joint on the end that we can replace. This is cleaned up. So we'll just check if the CV joint fits. All right. Yeah. Good tight fit. So that's a bit of a press fit. So we know that's going to be a good fit now. We don't want that to be baggy. So we know this section's good. We don't need to replace this part, so we can reuse this. It's always better to try and reuse parts wherever we can. So we're just machining the ends up a little bit so that they fit the tube. These components come in set diameters. So depending on the tube that we're fitting in, we have to change the diameters, obviously. So that's just been machined up to change the diameter. Please remember to click like and subscribe, and I hope we get some comments on this video as well. So why do the Alfa Brera Propshafts have such a big problem? It's well known. You'll go to see on lots of forums people talking about these Alfa Brera Propshafts failing, quite low mileage. It's because they don't really follow driveline principles. A standard driveline principle is you've got a gearbox. If it's a 2-piece or 3-piece prop shaft, the first prop shaft that comes out and maybe the second prop shaft that comes out are an extension of this gearbox. So through here you've got your main shaft that goes through the gearbox. This is basically an extension of that. Now you can be within a degree or so, that's not too bad, but you want to be pretty much along this line. So this angle here, this angle here, and this angle here are all equivalent. And then any angle that you need to get down to your diff, so if your diff is a little bit lower down here, the angle down here that you create has got a universal joint there and a universal joint there, or a CV joint. So this can handle running through an angle. You will have a universal joint here, you will have a universal joint here, but you've got a fixed rubber center bearing here and a fixed rubber center bearing here. Those can't handle angle very well. A certain amount they can. So you'll tend to find that from gearbox all the way along to your last center bearing should pretty much run in a nice straight line, and then all the angle is in the back shaft. That's standard driveline principle. In fact, we'll leave that up there. The problem with Alfa Romeo is they start off here at the gearbox, as usual. They run down to the first center bearing. They then run up a little bit to the second center bearing, and then they run back up to the diff. So these obviously aren't the exact angles. It's more like, I think it's around about 3 degrees, 1.5 degrees, and another 3 degrees somewhere over here. Yes, there is a CV joint here, but there's a universal joint here. So your constant velocity that a CV creates is negated slightly by the universal joint. Plus, you're in effect trying to get a prop shaft to go around a corner. So you end up having problems. So it's always the first center bearing that fails. It'll rip the rubber out. So the rubber on the center bearing is trying to keep everything central, but with a constant velocity joint here and a universal joint here, universal joints don't run in a constant velocity fashion. They run in an elliptical manner. So you get high points and low points. So at the high points and low points, the center bearing is moving backwards and forwards. So it just rips the rubber. So you tend to find that the center bearing, the actual bearing itself doesn't fail. It's the rubber that's around it that fails. So when you're mounting it back on the vehicle, these angles, you have to try and stick to the same angles as what they were, which is really very hard to do. Alfa Romeo, quite bespoke vehicles, the way that they're made, they're not made one-off, but they are quite handmade. So everything's slightly different. On the Alfa program, on certain models of four-wheel drive, of rear-wheel drive, they actually show shims. So it says 1 mil, 2 mil, 3 mil, 4 mil. and these little shims go in between the centre bearing and the bottom of the vehicle. It doesn't actually tell you on the program which shims to use. I assume you have to figure that out for yourself, which isn't really easy. But this is why the prop shaft in effect fails. It's a bad driveline principle. So we can't negate that. We can't change it because that's what the vehicle is. And you just have to roll with it a little bit. I will actually post a picture of a customer that's sent into us. And if this customer happens to watch this, then please tell us your name, because I forgot who it was. It was a few years ago now, and I had it saved on my computer. But I'll put a picture up that a customer did a full drawing of this. I'll put it up next, and you can see what the angles that he worked out on his vehicle and why he was having problems. So the Alfa's on the machine. Just go in and have a look, see how we're getting on here. Oh, here we go. Spin this round. So there we go. There's the Alfa done and on the machine. Let's have a look. All within tolerance, so that's good to go. Thank you for watching this week's video on Alfa Breras, and please, if you've got any questions, ask. If you've got any comments, make them. We're always open to discussion on this, because this Alfa Romeo is quite an interesting topic for us. Might be quite boring for you, but quite interesting for us. So let us know. Anyway, we'll be back next week with something else. So see you later. Bye-bye.